Viewers, we'll have a breaking of Shivangi Shukla. Let's get to the big story coming in. A plane caught fire in South Korean city of Muan, killing at least 120 people out of more than 170 passengers who were on board the flight. Yonhap news agency reports the Jeju Air flight plane veered off the runway and collided with a fence. It said the plane was returning from Bangkok. South Korean firefighters, rescue workers are looking for survivors after plane caught fire during landing. So far, only 3 people have been rescued. Those are the pictures we're getting for you. Now, that shows you the exact moment when the plane crash happened. You can see that plane is moving on the runway, and then it veers off. Then it veers off the runway, goes to one side, then crashes into a wall, bursting into flames. It skidded off the runway at a South Korean airport and slammed into a concrete fence. When its front landing gear failed to deploy, the death toll is rising. 3 people have been rescued, and rescue and relief operations are continuing. Emergency workers are pulling out people, and a lot of fire trucks have been deployed. Helicopters have also been deployed to go ahead and extinguish that fire. You can see that a huge plume of smoke can be seen. It's a very fatal crash. All right, being joined by our guest group captain, Dr. M.J. Augustine Vinod, joining us. Thank you for joining us. And you can see those pictures for our viewers. You would be the perfect person to ask, what do you think really went wrong? Now, the front landing gear had failed to deploy. What could be the reason? Any technical issues that the plane was facing? Was there no thorough checks done that this huge disaster has taken place?
Thank you, Shivangi, for the question. You got a lot of things absolutely on the money. Firstly, the gear, the complete gear, not only the front landing gear, the complete gear system is probably not come down. In fact, I've put a picture right behind me. It's a screen grab from somebody's phone where the aeroplane was seen flying low without the gear. So which means it is not a gear collapse situation. I mean, it can happen that when you touch the runway, the gear may collapse. So this is not that case. So we're ruling out gear collapse completely from here. Second is about lowering of the landing gear. I've covered that probably earlier. Lowering of landing gear in an airliner, Shivangi, is never a problem because the gear goes up with hydraulic pressure, because it goes against the gravity. But when the gear comes down, or when you have to lower the gear, you lower the gear normally using hydraulic pressure. But if you don't have hydraulic pressure, say the engines have died, or the hydraulic pumps have completely failed, even then, in the airliner, you have the capability to lower the gear by use of something called the gravity extension, in which you rotate a lever, which connects to a pulley and a cable, and the uplock mechanism of the gear, the landing gear, is opened, and the landing gear falls down on its own weight. And these landing gears weighs tons. So when the uplock mechanism is pulled back, it just falls down and locks down perfectly fine. I've not heard of a case where the mechanical or the gravity extension has failed. Maybe one odd case. Otherwise, gravity extension is like that Brahmastra, which always works. So in this case, it appears to be some other issue because of which they have landed with gear up. Now, gear up landing itself, Shivangi, is a calculated exercise in which you burn up the fuel to maybe just a little bit on the tank. You calculate the landing distance based on, you have a computer on board called the electronic flight bag. With that, you calculate the landing distances and you execute a gear up landing. It's a planned gear up landing. The outcome of the planned gear up landing is not what we see here. So there is something that is, there are a few things that is not right. And what is it? We'll come to know only when the cockpit voice recorder and the flight data recorder the so-called black box is pulled out. In this case, looks like the black box is intact because it is in the tail, and the tail just broke off, along with probably the black box also. So the preliminary investigation result may come out in a couple of weeks. We will come to know what exactly it is, but I'm just taking my neck out and telling you this, that it is not a situation which has been probably calculated and executed. Shivangi, one more important thing, and then that's for our viewers should know this, because most viewers today travel by air. It is impossible to land an airliner without, with forgetting to lower the gear. Impossible, because you have multiple checks in place. If you come down closer to the runway, the computer will tell you too low gear, too low gear. That means you're too low and your gear is not down. So it will remind you, continuously it will remind you on the speaker and on your headset. If you forget to lower the flaps, or if you have not taken the adequate amount of flaps that you originally planned for, it will tell you too low flaps. And if you come closer to the terrain with gear up, with flaps up, it will tell you too low terrain. So in this case, appears to be, as I see it, flaps are extended partially, which means the flaps have come down, the gear has not been extended, and they have come in and landed probably a planned belly landing, which has gone awry, is what I can, prima facie look at it and tell you. Now, could they have not gone in another runway close by, other than landing at Muan? Could they have burnt up more fuel so that the landing distance also reduces, and the post-crash that we see the fire, which probably killed more people than the impact, could have been reduced? These are few unanswered questions which will come out in the preliminary investigation report, which should be due in a couple of weeks. And the entire, mind you, Shivangi, the entire the accident investigation takes a couple of years. We have seen recently the helicopter crash involving our CDS came out after 3 years. So it takes a while for air crash investigation. I'm a trained air crash investigator, that's why I'm saying this. Air crash investigation takes months and sometimes years. Over to you, Shivangi.
Also, Group Captain Dr. M.J. Augustine, Vinod, you're explaining us the entire process, and you are mentioning that a lot of people now, they travel by air. Given the fact that a lot of people are traveling by air, and these kind of incidents need to be avoided, especially on commercial aircrafts, what options does the pilot have in this case when the pilot knew that the plane is skidding off the runway? What options did he have to perhaps lessen the impact of that crash?
Great question, Shivangi, on the money again. See, a couple of things which I want to tell our viewers who travel by air. Looking at what happened at Grozny, looking at what happened at Korea, probably the geopolitical scenario of the countries that you want to travel to or from needs to be looked at before you step on an aeroplane, at least for a while. Grozny was a clear-cut case of fratricide where, by mistake, now it is coming out clearly that they fired a missile at it, and it was an active war zone in which the aeroplane entered. In this case also, Shivangi, I have at least reasons to suspect the current political scenario in South Korea, impeachment and whatever that is going on, and the given country-to-country rivalry or near war conditions that exist between North Korea and South Korea. Could it have been one of the reasons for this crash is the question. I leave it to the environment, and probably in a couple of days we'll get an answer to this. Could it be that? Because my logical brain, and since I fly these aeroplanes day in and day out, Shivangi, I'm not able to, wrap around this particular accident at all. Like I said, it cannot happen in an airliner. The aeroplane won't allow you to land if your gears are up. And a gear up landing is a thought about, well-planned exercise whose outcome is not what we see. coming to your question, what can the pilot do if he is finding that he is going into the wall? Nothing much. I mean, I'm plain and simple is nothing much, because you have something called, to protect the overrun, you have something called RISA. So beyond the runway, you have a soft area which is supposed to arrest the aeroplane's forward travel even further. So exactly where we are now, the arrow mark that you have shown, this is the point at which it enters RISA. So RISA is supposed to slow you down even further, Shivangi. And it has in this case. If you notice the amount of dust plume that came out, it has reduced this forward speed a hell of a lot. Not adequate before he went and slammed onto the
Well, thank you for Group Captain Dr. M.J. Augustine Vinod for joining us here, because we need to take a short break. We're getting our viewers all the top updates. We've noted that the Boeing has also written to this airlines. We have a lot lined up for our viewers as we are getting our viewers top updates. The other stories we're tracking is that the BJP has leveled big charges against Mamata, alleging that TMC is helping terrorists to convert West Bengal into a Muslim majority state. Stay tuned as we keep getting you top updates as we're live in breaking.